The Thoth Tarot /ʻtæroʊ is a divinatory tarot deck painted by Lady Frieda Harris according to instructions from Aleister Crowley. Crowley referred to this deck as the Book of Thoth, and also wrote a book of that title intended for use with the deck. Background: Crowley originally intended the Thoth deck to be a 6-month project aimed at updating the traditional pictorial symbolism of the tarot. However, the project was to span 5 years, between 1938 and 1943, as its scope grew ever wider. Crowley and Harris were meticulous in their work, and Harris painted some of the cards as many as 8 times. The current edition of the US Games Systems deck contains 2 prototypes of the Magus card as painted by Lady Harris, each making use of markedly different style and symbols. Completed by Lady Harris but then rejected by Crowley, these were never intended to be a part of the deck proper. They are now included as a bonus treat for aficionados of the deck. Neither Harris nor Crowley lived to see the deck published. The first full publication was by Ordo Templi Orientis in 1969, although this initial printing was seen by many to be of inferior quality, and in 1977 Harris paintings were rephotographed for a second edition. A further update with new photography took place in 1986, while the current edition is based on a revision of this update which was first printed in 1996. Symbolism: the illustrations of the Thoth deck are rich in symbolism, based upon Crowley's stated desire to incorporate symbols from many disparate disciplines, including science and philosophy, as well as to draw on his extensive knowledge of various occult systems. For example, the Hanged Man and the Moon draw from Egyptian mythology, and the Princess of Discs holds a disc bearing the ʻtæroʊ. The pip cards in the 4 suits depict their objects in carefully crafted positions. For example, the 4 of Swords shows 4 swords with their points toward the center of an imaginary square, suggesting a possibly tense piece. The card illustrations are uniformly stark and vividly illustrated throughout. Differences from Rider-Waite Tarot. Order and names of trumps. Crowley renamed several of the trumps, and also rearranged the astrological and Hebrew alphabet correspondences of some cards, in accordance with his earlier book, Liber Vel Legis. All these old letters of my book are right. But is not the star. The minor arcana. Each of the minor arcana pips, other than the 4 aces, has been given a title. Crowley named them based on his intended symbolism. This symbolism does not always follow the more popular Rider-Waite Tarot deck. In the minor arcana, cards 1 to 10 are attributions of the Sephirah on the Tree of Life. Kether rules the 1s, Trigma rules the 2s, Binah the 3s, and so on, and so forth down to Markuth ruling the 10s. Kether being unity, moving down the tree to Markuth, being manifestation furthest away from that unity. Names of court cards. Crowley altered the names of all the court cards apart from the Queen in the Thoth deck, which can cause some confusion for people used to the more common decks. The typical corresponding names are as follows. In Bill Butler's Dictionary of the Tarot published by Skocken Books in 1975 he forms a relationship between the court cards that is different and when relating back to the traditional tarot seems to suggest different meanings and should be documented here. In his book the chart would be shown as follows. Titles and attributions of the Wands suit titles and attributions of the Cup suit titles and attributions of the Sword suit titles and attributions of the Disc suit References, Duquette, Lon Milo. Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot. Weiser Books. Wasserman, James. Instructions for Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot deck, included in the US Games Systems publication of the deck. Crowley, Aleister. The Book of Thoth. Bill Butler. Dictionary of the Tarot, published by Skocken Books in 1975, Ziegler, Gerd. Tarot, Mirror of the Soul, Handbook for the Aleister Crowley Tarot.